Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to one more session of the Enterprise Connectivity Forum by the Wireless Broadband Alliance. My name is Tiago Rodrigues. I'm the CEO of WBA. Glad to be with you today for one of more of these ECF sessions. So on the agenda today we have two guest speakers. So Ivan Muncini, so Vice President of Product for Cloud4Wi, talking about how open roaming is filling the gap on value exchange for enterprises and companies providing guest Wi-Fi services. And we have as well Surab Mathur, VP, Vice President as well, Product Management at RUCKUS Networks, talking about how AI is transforming the future of networking for enterprises. Giving some context about the Enterprise Connectivity Forum that we like to call ECF. So in WBA, we have this commitment that connectivity is super relevant in today's world, in particular for enterprises, and the power of connectivity can be substantial and transformative on the way that all of us as consumers, we interact and we buy goods and we have either a shopping experience or a service experience with different enterprises. ECF is an open and free community. We try to develop this type of sessions where we share case studies, good practices. We try as well as much as possible do networking and collaboration throughout WBA events. And as well, whenever there is an opportunity, we try to develop pilot programs, proof of concepts, trials, testing, whenever it makes sense for different stakeholders to come together. I just want to highlight one slide about the WBA programs. As you can see, this is a very busy slide. I don't intend to go over everything. Like many other organizations, we are divided in multiple work groups. And today I will put a lot of emphasis on the open roaming work group, where I'm going to talk about the importance of open roaming for guest Wi-Fi and how open roaming is impacting the delivery of guest Wi-Fi services and managed Wi-Fi services to enterprises. Throughout the presentations, feel free to drop your questions, comments on the Q&A box that exists here on the Zoom platform. So feel free just to put your questions along the session. And my objective is to go through them after each presentation. Okay, so jumping into guest Wi-Fi. So one of the goals in the WBA is to evolve the experience that we have with guest Wi-Fi, all of us as consumers. So when we look to the current or legacy methods that we all use, either open access networks or share passwords or MAC address authentication, captive portals, our goal is really to evolve to a more automatic and secure experience. So ideally removing the human intervention to connect to Wi-Fi. That our devices can, in an intelligent way, identify what are the Wi-Fi networks available, and they have all the information necessary to attach to those networks. And of course, the big part of that is not only the automatic authentication, but guarantee that when we attach to a Wi-Fi network, we have a relevant level of QoS, QoE. So whenever we attach to a Wi-Fi network, we are able to do whatever we plan to do, either web browsing or run an application or use any type of services. And of course, this vision, we believe that can transform the guest Wi-Fi, special for retailers and enterprises, into a digital marketing tool that can elevate the experience for their customers. And for that, Big part of the work on this area from WPI is on open roaming. So Open Roaming as a roaming federation that provides automatic and secure Wi-Fi connectivity. It's a key element for us to deliver that vision of a more seamless, secure guest Wi-Fi experience. As part of the open roaming, the very high level goal is to bring together two groups of stakeholders. By one side, all the stakeholders that have Wi-Fi networks that are available to the public. This can be operators, but can be hotels, convention center, airports, retail shops, restaurants, and so on, that they provide Wi-Fi connectivity. And then we have a series of players, stakeholders that they have identities. So this can be, of course, a mobile operator, a cable operator, but then we have brand loyalty programs, device manufacturers, social media providers, even government agencies, municipalities, universities, many different players that they already have our identity. They know who we are, and they have a lot of information about ourselves as individuals. And our goal is how can we bridge these two worlds that we can have different identities that can roam and utilize in a secure way different Wi-Fi networks. Uh, Today, open roaming has been widely disseminated and adopted by the different Wi-Fi AP manufacturers from the enterprise sector. You can see multiple brands here. They all provide many cases, easy setup menus, easy setup ways to configure open roaming. Majority of the device players, including Apple, Google, Android, operating system, Windows, they all support Passpoint, and if they support Passpoint, they support open roaming. And even we have players like Google Pixel and Samsung devices. They provide by default an open roaming identity to any new device that is provided. Two questions that normally I'm asked very frequently is how to provision open roaming and Passpoint to a device. That is a question that comes many times. So I took the opportunity to use this webinar to talk a little bit about it. And the second question is how an enterprise brand can have some engagement with the user, guaranteeing privacy when they have open roaming connectivity on their networks. Looking to the first one, so auto provisioning open roaming into a device. Basically, there are four mechanisms. So the open roaming identity or credential can come by native on your device. So that's the case of Samsung or Google Pixel. When you have those devices, as soon you come to the coverage area of open roaming network, those devices will bring up a pop-up saying that open roaming is available, and then you can connect. You can activate, accept the T's and C's and all that, and then you can immediately attach. Second way is through an online portal. So it's a one-time effort that any of us as consumers, we go to a portal, we provide whatever information that is requested by the identity provider, and then we can do a download or a credential to our device, either a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop, whatever type of device that supports open roaming and Passpoint. A third way is by an app. So there is the option to integrate the open roaming identity or credential into an app. So when we download the app of whatever brand, then we can automatically install the credential for the Wi-Fi. In this slide, I have the example of the Belgium Delhaize supermarkets. That is a brand in Belgium that have implemented open roaming on their retail shops. And then when you download their customer app, automatically you download as well the open roaming credential. And then there is a fourth way that is using the device systems. So either Apple and Google Android, they provide different mechanisms that are very used by the different operators that you can configure, and you can install any type of applications and credentials through those systems. So for iOS, it's called Carrier Bundle. For Google Android, there is different systems, including carrier configuration, but as well Android Enterprise that allows, in this case, even for enterprises, to install specific applications on the devices. And what you like to see is, after going through this process, one of these methods, what you'd like to see is what I have on this next slide. In fact, these are my devices. So you can see on my Apple iOS device, I have 3 credentials for open roaming, one from the city of Tokyo, another one from the city of Osaka, and another one from WBA, our testing identity system that we use for providing open roaming tests. And then on my Android, I have one credential from the City of London, another one from Inditex Company, another one from Cloud4Wi, and as well one for testing from the WBA. So that's the example of, after going through the provisioning method, this is what we should see on our devices. Jumping into the second question. So how can the network or the owner of the network have some level of engagement with the consumer that is using their Wi-Fi? So the first method is through a technology called VNURL Caport API, that basically the network sends a message to all the devices that are attached to the network. So this is like a blast from the network side. On the Apple iOS, so basically it's a two-step type of approach. So when we go into the details of the Wi-Fi network, you can see that they prompt a message saying there is a portal page. And then once I click on the portal page, I can go to any internet website that can provide whatever information that is needed. On this case, was just a test for one of the WBA events. We can click and go to this map of open roaming, but it could be a redirect to any commercial page or an information page related with the location where we are. On the Android is simpler because Android allows that the network sends a notification to the device notification center. So you can see here, this is somehow the main screen of the device. You see there is a message saying, okay, there is an open roaming Wi-Fi network, and you can click on this message, and immediately goes to the internet, and you can go to a web page and see whatever information is needed, either from a more commercial point of view or more of informative point of view. A second method that is used as well, in particular by the brands that install open roaming through an app. And once more, I come back to the Belgium Delay supermarket example. So what they do is, when they attach the Wi-Fi ID to the customer CRM ID, then what they do is, when a customer enters the Wi-Fi network, that is one of their retail shops, immediately they are allowed to send through the app a specific message to the device. So they can do this type of message. In this case, is an example of one of their customers. So when the customer enters the shop, they realize that that device is attached to the Wi-Fi. They attach to the customer ID. Then they can say something like, hello, Tiago, you are on the shop. In this case, is a promotion that they are saying that you spend a few more dollars and you get whatever promotion available as a loyalty customer. So these are examples on how Wi-Fi and open roaming provide some good user engagement. Overall, Open Roaming can provide a series of benefits, not only providing all that seamless, secure, and automatic experience, but as well, it can enlarge substantially the number of devices and customers on the networks, because when we remove the human intervention on the attaching to the network, the number of devices will grow substantially. And I have some data on that. As well, customer base satisfaction, loyalty, another big benefit. Then can grow revenues depending on the type of footprint, services, and networks that are available. This can be a monetization either directly by selling services or indirectly by selling more of other types of goods to the customers that come to that location. Opens up as well the opportunity for roaming, Wi-Fi offload, and other types of services, and solved as well the topic of security, MAC rotation issues that have been implemented by the device manufacturers can be solved as well with open roaming. Good as well to share what type of ways that different players can make money with open roaming, more from a service provider type of players. Of course, can be sold as a managed Wi-Fi service. Typical example is the supermarket that I showed before. They partner with different players, and those players they sell these open roaming services to that supermarket. Then you can do Wi-Fi offload roaming. There is opportunities as well for monetization. Then we have advertisement and all publicity opportunities. As well as some IoT, it may combine and bring opportunities of revenues there, identity management systems, and as well location-based type of services. Important to share that open roaming has been growing substantially across the world. As you can see, regions like US, some countries in Europe, Japan, for example, some success as well in Australia. So if you are curious about where open roaming is available, we have this crowdsourcing map on the internet. You just go to the wballiance.com/open roaming maps/ and you can see this and you can play around. And what we did is on this slide, we have examples of brands that are captured on the map. So all public information. So healthcare, several hospitals across the world have implemented open roaming, retail brands as well, from supermarkets, shopping malls, clothes, and so on, municipalities, different education, universities, and as well schools, theaters, and then a very vast variety of deployments from convention centers, stadiums, musical festivals, and so on. So all these brands, in fact, are available on the map, on the crowdsourcing map, as I mentioned. And to give real data on the impact of open roaming. So this was shared in one of our events last year from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. This is the growth of the traffic on the Tokyo City network. So you can see that since October 2023 until July 2025, they grow the volume of traffic by 100 times. So once more, that's what I mentioned before. When we remove the human intervention on the Wi-Fi, the devices, we can say that they are much more intelligent than us, and they will attach to the networks automatically, and the numbers really grow substantially. The same on the total profile downloads. So this is once more from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. You can see as more profiles are downloaded to the devices, the traffic will grow. But as well here on the graphic on the right, you can see the number of devices attached to the network. So on a monthly basis, so they multiplied almost by 10 the number of devices attaching to the network. So that's one of the big benefits of open roaming. Another example is with AT&T to bring an operator case. So when AT&T implemented PassPoint, so PassPoint is one of the foundation technologies of open roaming, they saw as well a seven times increase in terms of sessions and gigabytes used on the network. So yeah, once more confirming that growth on the traffic. Jumping now to a real case study from Mobile World Congress and FIRA Barcelona. So for those of you that attend the GSMA Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, I will present now some slides about the work that FIRA Barcelona is doing with open roaming. So this is the network in FIRA Barcelona. As you can see, is a very dense network. There is a very large number of APs on those facilities. This is a screenshot of all the identity providers that use that networks in 2026. We can see operators like AT&T or people like City of Tokyo, Apple IDs, and many others, Samsung IDs, and many other ones that Google Android, and many other ones that use it. And they have been exploring and using open roaming for a couple of years already. And one of the events that they run with open roaming is the Smart City Expo World Congress. So it's a 3-day event in FIRA in Barcelona. They provide free Wi-Fi to everyone. And to enter the show, you need to have a QR code that you need to get through an app. So the app for the event provide all the information regarding the event, including floor plan and list of attendees and all agendas and all that. But at the same time, they integrated the Open Roaming SDK with the app. So when you register for the event, you have the opportunity to activate Open Roaming connectivity for the show. So they did it for the show. They had around 21,000 app downloads, around 13,000 accepted the TNCs for open roaming. Some of them had some errors, whatever happened. But at the end, they had around 11,000 people using open roaming. That is 52% of the attendees of the event. This represents comparing, by the way, this data is from 2023. When they do the comparison between 2023 with open roaming and the free Wi-Fi with the captive portal and password from 2022, they saw an increase of 21% increase on the number of devices attaching to the network. Another benefit that they look at is regarding analytics. So for this type of venue, special convention centers, analytics inside the venue is super critical for their business. So they want as many people attaching to the network as possible, so they can have a much more granular analytics data that they can use for whatever interest that they have regarding events. So they saw as well an increase of the analytics. And in summary, they shared with us that they have open roaming gave them 20% more devices connected, much better connectivity experience, so simpler, easier for everyone, better analytics. Quite interesting as well when they share that 0 complaints reported to the IT teams, but as well they found that there was almost 2,000 users that were not able to installing the open roaming by some reason. That we need to solve that as well. This was just a sample of a case study from FIRA Barcelona Convention Center, but we have many other case studies from all different verticals and geographies of the world. So if you want to see more examples, just go to openroaming.org and you can see here different case studies that we have developed with different players. Um, and with this, I hope that we enjoy these initial interactions and information about open roaming. I want to thank you for all your attention to my presentation, and I would like to invite and hand over to my good friend Ivan Manciuni from Cloud4Wi. So I hand over to you, Ivan. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for the intro. Let me share my screen. All right. So that was a brilliant presentation. Actually, I'm gonna use some of that content and concept as well in my presentation. We actually also talking about open roaming, bringing the perspective of a player like ourselves, which we act as a broker, as a service provider, as a software provider, helping enterprises to adopt it. So for those of you that don't know us, just a quick intro. We've been in business for more than 13 years at this point. And in the past 10 years, we primarily fulfill the use case of guest Wi-Fi for the majority of our customers, which usually are large enterprises with complex networks spread across different geographies or regulatory domains. And we also, of course, we embrace open roaming since the first day, as we strongly believed, that this is kind of the where the future was heading. We are all familiar with what the traditional guest Wi-Fi experience is, as also Tiago mentioned, is not what probably most of the today's users, or actually, especially new generation, are expect in terms of user experience, right? Not frictionless, it's not secure, and it's the same technology and the same experience we had 15 years ago. That's why we actually embraced open roaming since the beginning. And uh, Tiago already gave a great explanation of the open roaming, its purposes. So I'm not gonna repeat myself on this. But I think maybe want to capture the vision and the mission that are in capturing this header of the website of open roaming, that and in particular to the words providing automatic and secure Wi-Fi to everywhere and everyone. I mean, we all believe, I think, especially in this forum, right, that in the future, Wi-Fi will be even more the default, the best indoor wireless connectivity technology. And I think we all agree that open roaming is the only and most credible framework to make this happen, especially also facilitating a more tighter integration with the 5G or 6G or the evolution of the mobile networks, right? We all want that secure and seamless experience. So we've been pitching and advocating for open roaming for a few years now, to our existing enterprise customers and of course all the new prospects. And we get some feedbacks. So today I want to report on some of those feedbacks and explain, what we build on top of those feedbacks and how we think to accelerate the adoption of open roaming. But before doing that, just to repeat one slide that Tiago already shown. I mean, one of the most clever but clean and simple concept of open roaming is this decoupling of the identity providers that owns users from the access networks that owns network, right? These create really the freedom to expand on both sides of the ecosystem and engage more players. So we make this dream of a more holistic global roaming and federations a reality. And the framework per se of the open roaming is really, really solid from both the policy standpoint and the enablement technology framework with all the RCOI, certificates, Q&E, and all that comes with it. So the framework is really solid. Although we still see some pushbacks when we bring up open roaming on the plate and we present to our customer the option to, you know, use open roaming instead of traditional guest Wi-Fi. We get some feedbacks. The first one is the most common one is, why should I do that? From both ends of the ecosystem, from the access network providers and the identity providers, which in many cases in our business are the same entity, right? We work with a lot of enterprises that owns the network, and somehow they have their own customers or maybe even the digital identity of those customers. So they even act as an IDP for their customer base. So from the network provider standpoint, the most common right feedback is, why should allow all these open third-party IDP users to connect to my network? In the end, I'm not a network operator. It's not my job to fill the gap of mobile carriers in many cases. And also, I'm used to the traditional way where, despite being providing some friction, not being optimal, I get the usual captive portal digital interface that I can use to collect first-party data. I can feed those data into the CRM. I can promote some of my products and things, which is a trade-off that in some cases still justify the investment and keeping alive the guest Wi-Fi service. But of course, they will prefer a more seamless and automatic solution like open roaming. But there is a value, deadlock. They don't really capture the value. The same is on the identity provider side, especially when they don't match with uh, the access network provider. So when they are only the users, right? They say, why should I empower my user base to connect to all or certain or specific access networks? Like, what do I get out of it? Like in the end, the baseline policies of the framework is designed for privacy by design, and so there is not um, real mechanism for exchanging any data, any insight, and it's a good thing that is designed for privacy first, right? So identity providers, they don't get much data or that intelligence out of enabling the users in connecting to third-party networks. Of course, they get the fact that these users are actually have a internet connectivity and they can use the app smoothly, which in many cases is compelling enough. But still, these are the two most common, pushbacks. But there is another category of issue, which is the question about the quantitative impact of, these adoption. So even if they find value because their use case is empowered by adopting open roaming on both sides of the ecosystem, there is still an open question of the how many users are going to benefit out of this. So if I'm an access network and I turn on an open roaming SSID, you know, to solve for a more smooth experience, how many users out there are going to benefit from it? How many of them really already have a pass point profile from any IDP that can connect to my network, right? Is 80%, 50%, or 2%, right? So I'm really solving the problem or this point, or there still need to wait for a better adoption. And the same is from the identity provider side. So, the most common pushback also is, yes, if we do it, how many networks can my user actually connect, right? It's one over, of the millions of venues out there where my users for my app, let's say, go, how many of them are enabled, right? So there is this adoption life cycle issue, which, by the way, we believe is going to be solved. And Tiago showed a very effective slide from what happened in Tokyo, for example, right? It is a great example where the value exchange dynamics worked and the ecosystem is, the gear is spinning and the adoption is growing exponentially. So that's a good thing. And we believe the problem of the adoption will solve by itself if we solve first the value exchange problem. So creating mechanisms to deliver values to both access network providers and identity providers. So Tiago also showed that there are ways for engaging users, right? The traditional um, approach of a captive portal allows brands, for example, right, to collect data from users through the captive portal, despite being invasive and not really friendly. That is used for engagement. And Tiago showed that there are new mechanisms, for example, using the venue URL from the Cloud4 APIs, which, however, are great by design and by standard, but we also have seen that in iOS is not the most immediate and accessible notification that every user can find. It's something that you actually need to go and find yourself. So it's not still a great adoption from the a maturity from the ecosystem standpoint. So that is a method, and we also believe that we need to invest on it, and it probably is the future, more standard way to do that. But yet, we don't see it as the one-stop solution as of today. So by talking with some of these IDPs and some of these access network, and in particular collaborating with managed service providers that want to monetize and also the investment in this into this type of service, we started to learn that in the end, um, who owns the users, right? Most of the users are owned by apps. Of course, there are putting away the device manufacturers like Apple and Google Pixel, as we've seen, and Samsung, and we all wish that maybe some like Apple will provide default passpoint profiles in every Apple device, but it's not happening yet. As well as Google or maybe right broadcasting profiles to all users by default, not only Pixel users. But we are not there yet. So where are the rest of the users that are not yet enabled? Well, apps, over-the-top apps today owns those users, in particular because we have seen also there are different ways to onboard devices with passpoint profiles, and mobile apps is the easiest way, to be honest. Portals works, but there is friction also there, especially in iOS. So mobile apps, like in the case of the grocery chain that Tiago was showing before in Belgium, is the most effective and easier way for users. So we are thinking to over-the-top apps as potential players to become IDPs in the Open Roaming Federation. So, but we still have those value exchange deadlock. Unless we look at the problem in and we make it smaller, right? And we look at specific scenarios. For example, we think, where are the users of a specific app going and interacting, right? Let's say, and if we are able to restrict the view of this federation to IDP categories whose users interact in specific category of access network, maybe it's easier inside these, let's say, specialized subfederation to identify value exchange dynamics that deliver more, concrete ROI to both sides. So in the next slides, I want just to make some example to clarify this concept, right? So the most classic and obvious example is what we also have deployed with some of the customers that were in Tiago's slide, right? Some of those customers, we empower them. And is the scenario where venues, like especially large venues, they have bad indoor signal, and simply they want to let their visitors and customers simply use digital tools without worrying about connectivity. And so these are the traditional cases where the legacy mobile offload was the a tailored solution. And the other side, who can actually is interested in finding value of becoming an IDP and letting their users connect into these venues. Well, of course, mobile operators they might be interested in some cases to let their mobile subscribers automatically connect into these venues automatically and securely leveraging open roaming. So venues, they actually get seamless connectivity for a larger portion of their users, so they can use digital services, apps, QR codes, couponing, and all of that. And IDPs and mobile operators can, from one end, potentially they can see a reduction of a cost saving in terms of cost per bit. They don't deliver that bad experience to their subscribers that they get into an indoor space and they lose mobile coverage. So they somehow provide an extended coverage also inside, right? There might also be a settlement between, for actually getting some revenue sharing or some payment from the network for enabling that in some cases. But in general, this is the traditional scenario, and we have deployed this. It's clear, right? But it's not the only one. And also, we've seen carriers being more selective, in where they really want to enable the service because not all the venues are the same, and it's not yet an open ecosystem. So there are other scenarios, though. Just some example here, right? And it's a brainstorming slide. We are not saying that this is something that we want to sell now, but let's take hospitality. If we narrow down the ecosystem of IDPs and IMPs to hospitality, we see the hospitality venues from one end. And who are the users that go into these venues? Well, users that booked that hotel or that trip or that resort, right? So where do they book it? In a over-the-top booking service. Like there are tons of mobile apps where you can book the travel. What is the value exchange dynamic here? Well, access hotels, they don't, in the end, they don't want to do the role of a network operator, right? They value a seamless and secure Wi-Fi experience, but they're not willing yet to let every piece of the value that they had with Captive Portal go. So the open roaming framework and the technology allows us to also exchange other value in terms of data intelligence, not in prevent the hotel to get a notification via webbook in the very moment a guest that booked that hotel arrives on site, so they can empower some clienteling use cases and welcoming the customer, or simply getting the historical data of the visits to create some behavioral profiling and improving the service. And nothing also prevents the IDP, the booking app, to get the same data intelligence and getting a feedback and a notification or retrieve the data of where the user is going, where they are staying, and how long. The only obstacle here is that the default open roaming framework is designed for privacy first. So doesn't, from one end, doesn't allow this to happen by default unless you create peer-to-peer agreements, but no one wants to peer-to-peer agreements, right? It wouldn't scale. So we need to structure those policies in a over-the-top overlays policies of a specific group of players, a sub-federation that adheres to those policies and allows to exchange those data. And then we need to put in place also the technicalities to make it happen. But we have the technology is there. It's not a technology friction. But let's make some other examples like air travel, right? Very obvious. Airports, airlines, same dynamics, right? You can get the airline apps could promise as part of adhering to this federation to send a welcome notification to the travelers in the moment they arrive in the airport, and get a simple link to the resources, the digital resources of the airport for guidance, security, for any use case. And the IDP, the airline, get the real-time arrival notification. They get intelligence about the users, and again, they can build additional use cases with that data. Transport agencies in cities with ticketing apps or the urban mobility apps, same thing. Why you buy the ticket on the app, you get connected in the moment you jump on a train, on a metro, or on a bus. Same thing, they'll exchange. There is a lot of data intelligence that can be exchanged even in real time to empower additional value-add use cases. But even in the commercial use cases, like the grocery chain in Belgium that Tiago was showing before, right? In that case, they have their own app, and their own users connect their own network, right? And so they send, but let's say that they realize a grocery shop is in a shopping mall, right? And the network is owned by the shopping mall. Why not letting that app connect to the shopping mall general network, but still, uh, let the allies know that their customer arrived in the shopping mall in a network they do not control? This is totally doable, right? And provides values to both sides of the ecosystem. Or and the same is we are working on some projects with some partners about municipal networks, municipal apps, right? There are a lot of cities that have their own app, and but they don't own an extensive network in the city. So except for maybe some few, key touristic areas, they can easily enable commercial venues where tourists go, where citizens go to do the same. For example, where is the value exchange in this case? Well, nothing prevents that when a user with a city app, in this case, I have a pizza app, is a mock app, it doesn't exist, arrives in a venue, let's say in a, even in a museum or a public space, and they connect. And in exchange for opening up the network to this app, the venue gets the ability to send a push notification through that app to the users to direct them to their resources. So you arrive in the museum, you get the push notification from the city app. Okay, this is the digital hub for this museum. Go there and explore all the services, right? Same scenario. So in the end, what is missing to make this happen? Well, again, the baseline framework is very solid and is designed for privacy first. There's a lot of technical tooling to empower these sub-federations. Although what we need is an overlaying of tech tooling to empower the data exchange, right? Real-time data, visitation history, push notification, and so on. The agreements and the policies that regulates, and allows to exchange that data, which by default cannot be done, relying on the standard policies. And also the more SDKs to empower the profile provisioning into apps, but also the consent management, which is very important to let the users specifically select who they want to share the data with, which is something that is very common in the advertising world with best practices. So this is what the role of broker like Cloud4Wi can play to empower these sub-federations and speed up the adoption of open roaming. It needs to be very simple, right? Where net operator, they jump in somewhere, they enable their SSID, they register their location, maybe they provide their URL of their business and start receiving data. And the identity provider journey must be very, very simple as well and can be very simple. So without going too long, if any of you is interested in exploring and join these use cases and has ideas on and wants to participate to specific federations, we really welcome you to get in touch with us. We are really happy to explore these scenarios with you. And with this, sorry if I went a little bit long, Tiago, but I get back to the control to you.
No, that's fantastic, Ivan. Thank you so much for the presentation. I love the concept of sub-federations and those small market segments or communities that can take advantage of open roaming. Let me propose the following. Let's jump into Surab Mathur presentation, and then at the end we come back to the questions, if that is okay for you.
Definitely.
Thank
Surab,
you.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiago. Great presentations on open roaming by Tiago and Ivan. It's really good to see the progress over the last several years. We were at the forefront of some of these implementations, so it's really exciting to see the great adoption. Let me quickly share my screen. All right. So today I will be talking about a shift that's just bigger than just the latest AI tech buzzword. We're talking about AI here. AI is not coming, it's already here, and it's beginning to reshape how enterprise networks are built, managed, and experienced. So let's take a look at how AI has evolved over the last many decades. So AI is not new; it has been around for a long time. But back in the day when AI was first introduced as a concept in the 1950s, it was very simple and based on rules. So think of a thermostat. So if X, then do Y. So it was pretty useful, but it couldn't handle anything it was not explicitly programmed for. Then in the 2000s and the mid 2000s, a lot of work was done on machine learning and deep learning, where AI starts to learn from the data instead of the rules. So instead of having these fixed, very rigid rules and boundaries, the algorithms became more flexible. So think in terms of recommendation engines, image recognition, where the AI model was able to figure out patterns. And then in the 2020s, AI um, went into a completely different era, right? So there was a leapfrog, and with the introduction of generative AI. So AI was not able to just classify, it was able to create things. So it could write an email, generate code, summarize a long report. And then when ChatGPT was introduced in the late 2022, that was the time where it became more in the public conscience, right? So everybody was talking about AI, and it became sort of the moment where AI became more mainstream. And in the last few years, the generative AI component has been augmented with new technologies such as RAG, where the Gen AI was grounded in real data by retrieving some context before even it was generating some output. And this is important because this is how AI stays accurate and also very domain specific. In the beginning days, if you remember, there was a lot of chatter about hallucinations and AI kind of going off the rails and answering questions in all sorts of different ways. I think that has improved significantly with the introduction of some of these newer models and newer technologies. And I think most recently, the leap we are living through now, AI is just not there to answer a question. It is basically able to take a goal, figure out the steps to execute on it, uses external tooling, can make API calls, can check its own work, and deliver all the results in a completely autonomous way. So this is the era that we are living in, and the latest technologies in the agentic AI basically show that each of these waves that came over these many years, they did not replace the previous one. They just compounded. And agentic AI is the current frontier of that wave of technology. At the core of AI is the LLM, right? So LLMs are the engines behind everything that we talk about AI today. Think of LLM as a model that is trained on a vast amount of data. So whether it is text, websites, could be code, technical documentation, so on and so forth. And through that training, it learns the statistical relationship between words, concepts, and ideas, and develops something that looks quite close to what humans would call reasoning. Some of these models that you're very familiar with, like GPT, Claude, Gemini, they have evolved. The computational prowess of these models is really impressive. They have over 100 billion parameters. And think of each parameter as a learned weight. And in simple words, these models have internalized a huge slice of human knowledge. What makes the LLM special for networking? LLMs can read a log file and can explain what went wrong in the network in simple English or whatever language of your preference. They can also accept from the administrator or the user a policy intent. So if you prompted something like prioritize video conferencing for the C-suite or an executive, it can take that input, translate it into configuration, and creates a bridge between language to action. Clearly, 2022 was an inflection point. ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months, and everybody was asking, what does that mean for enterprise networking? So LLMs are powerful, but they are also very reactive. They are a Q&A type system. They respond when asked. And the real step change here in this area is agentic AI, which turns LLM into something that acts on its own. And so let's take a look at that next. So agentic AI refers to a system that does not just respond to a prompt. The agents can reason, they can plan, they can take sequence of actions autonomously to accomplish very complicated goals, can use tooling, can make API calls, as I mentioned before, and are aware of the environment they are operating in. So they have a much deeper context. So think of agentic AI in different dimensions. So first one is agency, where it can perceive and understand the context and the circumstances. The second one is reasoning, where the model can reason about how to solve a problem or answer a question. The third one is around planning and action, where it can actually look at the goal, break it down into smaller steps, and plan and take actions. And then the last dimension is tool usage. Because the agent can understand multimodal information, it can use tools such as it can log onto a website on your behalf, observe the content, whether it is text or video, and then use that knowledge to perform its task. So agentic AI is evolving from answering to acting. When the agent reaches environment, that is called perception. So things like network telemetry, logs, any user request, API output, the agent is able to see what's happening in real time. Another important area or dimension of an agent is around memory. So agents nowadays have significant improvements in terms of their ability to have hold context for a long period of time. So short-term memory holds context within a specific task, like all the steps that it just took, whereas long-term memory stores learned network behavior. It can learn about policies and configurations and things that you instructed it to do from the past, and remembers it over a period of time. So it grows smarter and more experienced over time. The next area is planning. This is what makes agentic AI different from a simple chatbot. So given a goal, so let's say you say resolve the connectivity issues on a particular floor in building 3. The agent is able to break that into steps. It's able to check the access points or switches, whatever connectivity solution you have, analyze the logs, pull the right information from multiple devices, identify the root cause, apply the fix, validate it, and then generate a report. Um, Tool usage is again a super important, because the agent is not just thinking, it is actually making an making an action. So for example, it can call APIs, query any database, push a configuration change, restart a service through APIs. And this becomes very important, because if you think of AI agent in an isolation, it is very limited by what it can do. By having access to these tools and APIs, now you are opening its context, and it can do much more, very similar to what a trained technician or a trained operator can do. And when you combine all these four dimensions, you just don't have a simple Q&A type assistant. You have basically an autonomous network operator that is continuously monitoring the network and is also acting at machine speed. So AI and machine learning have been used in networking for many, many years. At first, they were used to correlate data sets and monitor for any network anomalies. That is what we have been calling AI networking. When Gen AI was introduced, the network AI assistants that enabled natural language interface with the networking infrastructure to drive more operational efficiencies. And by 2030, there are some surveys out there that say that 50% of organizations will use agentic NetOps with limited or minimum human involvement. That's a very eye-opening number. And also by 2030, agentic NetOps with network AI assistant will be the primary UI used in networking operations. So it's not just a gimmick, but it's actually getting deployed in 2025, and we'll see more of that adoption happening over the next 4 or 5 years. So it's the rate of adoption is anticipated to be accelerate quite a bit over the next few years. So on this slide, I wanted to talk about how network operations has evolved alongside AI and why agentic AI is a true step change and it is not just an incremental improvement. And if you look on the left side, this is the traditional machine learning era. AI was primarily supervised, used some level of unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning, and it was very good at monitoring and flagging issues. But humans still had to interpret the data and and take action. In the middle of the generative AI phase, which happened somewhere between 2022, 2025 to 2024, this is where the large language models came in and we could talk to our network data in natural language, search the documentation, get summarized recommendations. But more importantly, this was still a single shot AI. You prompt, you prompt the AI, you get some kind of an answer out. The AI was able to provide you advice, but it could not execute end-to-end workflows. Now, on the right is when the things fundamentally change, where with agentic AI, we are moving to an orchestrated system of agents. So think of a system which not only has one agent, but you have these multiple specialists. One could be specializing in Wi-Fi, one could be specializing in client troubleshooting, one could be specialized in security, and they are all collaborating, perform multi-step tasks, and can act autonomously, ranging from full diagnosis to remediation. So the key takeaway is basically traditional AI gave us more visibility. Generative AI gave us a conversational platform where you could interact with the system in a more natural form. But agentic AI takes us to the next step, which is execution. And that is what truly enables what we call self-healing autonomous networks. So everything that we've covered so far is available today. So it's not something that's theoretical, that's not available and is something for the future. But the trajectory does not even stop there. And let me show you where this goes and walk you through 6 future capabilities. Within the next 12 to 24 months, the concept of CLI for network management is going to feel pretty dated. I know a lot of people who are in the operation side, they love to kind of SSH into a box and kind of start querying the system. Um, this is going to evolve and it'll evolve from a system where you're actually looking at the logs and, instructing the system to do things. You will just have to say your intent. You will just need to tell your network what you need, and it will just handle the rest. So within Ruckus, we have been kind of investing in this technology for a long time, and Ruckus already has this with this agentic dashboard, and we are also expanding it across our portfolio. Will also move from being more reactive to being more preemptive. So it will not just alert you to a problem and it will resolve it before any user is ever impacted. So it's not just highlighting that, hey, these are the incidents that are happening in your network. It's actually going in and proactively resolving it. So the network becomes self-healing by design. Intent-aware scaling. So imagine a campus network that knows that there's an event tomorrow or a hospitality event or a conference that's happening tomorrow and automatically pre-provisions the network for more capacity. It is aware not because somebody configured this, but because the AI was able to understand the context, right? So it was able to understand that, yes, from the information and tool that it has access to, there is something happening tomorrow. And because of that history, it knows that it needs to increase the capacity of the network. Multi-specialized agents working together that I mentioned before, right? Where one agent is responsible for handling Wi-Fi or RF, another one that is specialist in security posture, another one on client troubleshooting and quality of service. They collaborate and hand off tasks, right? So just like a well-run network operations team, but think of it as something that's working continuously at machine speed. Zero touch deployment has been super important for productivity and for reducing the overall cost of ownership. So if you're opening a new location or a branch office or a new hotel, the agentic AI will orchestrate the entire bring up of the site. So ranging from the provisioning of the network elements, creating network segmentation for security purposes, enforcing the policy, and doing compliance validations. A core principle here is that how often a user or an administrator needs to go into the user interface or the CLI. So instead of the network operators kind of going in and driving every action manually, the system continuously observes telemetry, detects the issues, and recommends or takes corrective actions automatically. So the interaction with the UI will become very different than how people think of UI and system interactions today. So these are some very near-term extensions of what different vendors are already shipping, including Ruckus. The infrastructure is already in place. The AI is already alive. We already have products out there that have these capabilities, and the future looks very exciting in terms of what is possible. So as you know, Ruckus is very well known for hardware performance in very challenging environments. And we have been investing in AI for a long time. And we've kind of building it further on the strong foundation of hardware performance, whether it's Wi-Fi or switching. One of the most important elements of AI is data. Ruckus started with building data foundations by implementing standard GPB-based telemetry capabilities, whether it's on APs or switches and controllers. So whether it's you're using Smart Zone or using cloud-based platforms, it's all in there. Then came AI ops-based insights and recommendations via AI incidents. Um, we have built patented AI ML models where AI is able to predict, proactively identify network issues which are hard to detect and troubleshoot, and they work across both wired and Wi-Fi. And AI incidents can detect over 20 actionable incidents today. So, Mark, obviously the industry has evolved, and customers were looking not just for recommendation, but for human in the loop controlled remediations. Then we moved on to intent AI, introduced a remediation with user permissions for various issues. So things like radio resource management, AI ops, energy saving that we've introduced over the last couple of years, take several actions autonomously. We have also rolled out new generative AI and agentic AI solutions with what we call a DSE. DSE stands for a digital system engineer. It can perform automatic analytic outcomes. It is being enhanced into an orchestrator where it can perform automated actions leveraging multiple agents. So the key takeaways from this short presentation is that agentic AI is not just many people think that it's going to replace network engineers. It's not really about that. It's really about giving the network our customers a network that thinks, acts, and heals itself at machine speed. And as networks are evolving to become more complicated, with more heterogeneous devices online, even in Wi-Fi, you have new capabilities. With 6 gigahertz, it's becoming humanly impossible to kind of manage all of that. So with agentic AI and AI, it's going to shift the focus from doing mundane stuff like log analysis and troubleshooting into more higher end, more creative work around the real things around security, around reducing the total cost of ownership, around improving the SLAs that the customers want to have. Also kind of move the network operations focus to more creative areas rather than doing these mundane things. So networking is going to transform from just plain insights into goal-based actions. Automation is here, and it's going to continue to evolve in the next couple of years. Ruckus is already at the forefront of this, and we are already delivering a lot of new capabilities in this space. And I think we just need to embrace it. It's here, ignore it at your own peril, and see how AI tooling, whether it is for personal use or even for professional use beyond just networking, right? I think it's just we are there. We just have to embrace it. I hope you found this segment useful, and with that, I'm going to hand it back to Tiago.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shurab. Fantastic presentation about AI and how agentic AI is transforming the networking. I know that we are already 10 minutes past the hour, but I really want just to bring two questions, one to each of you very quickly in a few seconds, if you can share your thoughts. Ivan, with you, any work on MDUs from Cloud4Wi on your side, potential customers or current customers looking to open roaming pass point for MDUs?
Yes, actually, MDU is one of our target markets. We have a dedicated solution for that. Traditionally, is leveraging, the multi-PSK technology for empowering headless devices, which remains a foundation. But there is the adventure of Wi-Fi 7. We know that PPSK is not supported on 6 gigahertz, and so we are starting to onboard residents also with, more Wi-Fi 7 friendly technology, seamless and secure like Passpoint. And so it's at the beginning process, but we are starting to see some, positive feedbacks in terms of the value that it delivers, and also the adoption, the onboarding frictions can be overcome because in this case it's not a transactional visit in a store where you're going to stay like 5 minutes, but it's your, community. So you do the effort of onboarding your devices for a secure community-wide connectivity. So yes, that's a great use case that we are looking forward to expand.
Perfect. Thank you. Surab, on your side, agentic AI coming up very strong for network operations. What are the barriers for that you see for enterprises to not to adopt it?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? When we talk to our customers, the biggest questions that I see in terms of hesitation is around two areas, right? So one is transparency, and the second one is governance. So people still see AI as more or less like a black box. So they are concerned that what exactly is happening, they're not comfortable, especially if you're running a mission critical network. People are concerned that, AI is taking autonomous actions without the knowledge. And what if it takes down the network? What if one of the devices fails? Whatever is happening in the network, now you have no control over it, right? So that's a valid concern. And the way to think about that and how we are solving it is giving full transparent information about what led for an agent to make a decision, right? So being transparent, showing what steps the agent has taken along with the reasoning. And as you know, these models are also probabilistic, so it also gives you a confidence score, right? So I think with the combination of all the steps that was taken by the agent, along with the reasoning of why it took that decision and the confidence interval will go a long way in developing that trust. In addition to that, having some guardrails where you can set some boundaries that, okay, never change the channel plan or do not reduce the transmit power of the AP beyond a certain level, right? No matter what. By putting such guardrails, it gives confidence or it gives some comfort to the system administrator that the AI agents are not running in the wild and you are putting some boundaries around the operations. So I think a combination of more transparent logging and reasoning, which is visible to the user, and then putting some governance pieces in the system, I think will improve the adoption.
Yeah, thank you, Surab. Uh, Thank you, Ivan. Thank you, Surab. Fantastic presentations, very informative, very detailed. Thank you, everyone, for attending the session. We are running late. Sorry for that. Thank you for staying those extra minutes. And if you enjoy the content, both from Ivan and Surab, please think about it attending our Wireless Global Congress Americas coming up in next month in May. 18th to 21st May in Dallas, US. consider to join us and learn more on these concepts of AI, Wi-Fi 7, open roaming, and many other topics. All information available on wirelessglobalcongress.com. And once more, great session. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.